It flipped again. I can't keep up with all of this. Falcons fans, welcome into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. My name is Moose, and I know, we just talked about what ESPN had to say about the Atlanta Falcons coaching situation, not literally 48 hours ago, and I told you right then and there, I said, I have a big-time feeling, 70% chance Raheem Morris comes back and keeps his job. Well, now, according to a new report that came out literally this morning from Bleacher Report and one NFL insider named James Palmer, it kind of looks like maybe that's not exactly the case. So he took to his most recent podcast. He works with Bleacher Report, and he's an NFL insider with 140.4 thousand followers on X, meaning what? This guy at least has some credibility that people trust. If you've got 140,000 anything, that's objectively a lot. Followers listening to his words, listening to what he's hearing, obviously there is some pull and it holds some weight. But Palmer is claiming that the Falcons could clean house from Terry Fontenot all the way down to the wide receivers coaches, which right now is TJ Yates. So I think that this is one of those situations where it's like, okay, who do we believe? What do we know to be true? What do we know to be false? And what do we know is in the middle and kind of like a little bit of a source off here? So I need you to do one thing with me. Bear with me on this episode. Don't get super trigger happy and go down to the comment section. This is fucking clickbait. Just bear with me. We'll talk about it. I promise. And another thing that I promise is we're going live tomorrow. So make sure you pull up to Falcons Today when we do go live. Subscribe to the channel. We're literally like, no joke, I think 29 subscribers away from hitting 47,000. So if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button, select the bell notification, select the all option. Never miss a time that we post. So here's what James Palmer's full quote was. I know you're wondering, what did he say, Moose? So he got to his podcast and he said, and I quote, "That's a spot I'm hearing around the league that more and more people believe could be more likely a change than staying pat. I think they are analyzing everything in that building from Terry Fontenot down." Okay, so we have a source off here. On the one hand, we hear from James Palmer that they're actually trending more towards stripping everything down and starting from scratch. But then Ian Rappaport 2 days ago came out and said this: owner Arthur Blank has shown patience in the past, but it's running out with this franchise that hasn't made the playoffs in 8 years. He plans to evaluate the futures of coach Raheem Morris and general manager Terry Fontenot as the season draws to a close, as most managers do, blah, blah, blah. A strong finish certainly wouldn't hurt their case. Going on and on. Nothing is decided and won't be until after the season, but people familiar with Blank's thinking expect potential changes in some form to the football operation regardless. And the first thing I want to say is this just makes me want to drink. I need a strong old-fashioned. I need a strong whiskey Coke or something that just takes the edge off, because good Lord, I cannot keep going back and forth. Is Raheem going to stay? Is Raheem going to go? Are they going to fire the offensive coordinator? What do I think about the whole thing based off of the reports that I'm seeing? New information, new opinion. I do think Raheem and Terry Fontenot will stay. I'm still on that train. However, there is clear and obvious pressure to perform well and win these last two games. Based off of both reports, what do we know to be true? There is clear understanding that something is going to happen in the offseason. Now, whether that be a complete stripping from top to bottom or just a cleaning of a couple of coordinators, something is going to happen. I think that much is clear. Arthur Blank is probably putting it out there in some form or fashion that, hey, based off of how the season has gone, based off of the last 8 years, we know we need something new. I still don't think that that means Raheem is gone, but I do believe that if these last two games go as badly as they could go, you might see that still as a possibility after the season is over. So I'm going to ask you really quickly, and I'm sure you have a lot to say about this because I know I do. I just only have a finite amount of time to keep you interested. So what is your thoughts about the coaching staff change? Any thought you've got on the matter, doesn't matter what it is, let me know in the comment section down below. To me, like I told you, I think Raheem is here. I think Zach is gone. And I think that Marquise Williams is gone. Now let's talk about something that's a little bit more concrete, a little bit something based in fact. Falcons Pro Bowlers were announced, and believe it or not, only 2 of them got the nod, which to me is a little surprising. Maybe not completely surprising, but enough to where I'm like, are you sure? We'll talk about that coming up here in just a moment. Before that, got to tell you about my friends at PrizePicks. 48 hours away until we're saying ho, ho, ho. But PrizePicks is the best place on the app to be right, no matter what you're doing, whether you're deciding what gifts to buy last minute, what games to watch. There is one place where it continues to be good to be right, and that's with PrizePicks. They have got a brand new feature alert. They've got early payouts now where you can basically cash out if your lineup gets off to a very hot start. And every single day until Christmas is the 7 days of Picksmas. PrizePicks has given out 7 days of deals all the way through Christmas Day, including a Christmas Day max discount. Started on the 20th, so download the app today and unwrap all of those deals. Takes 30 seconds to make a lineup, pick your player, more or less on their app, stat projections, and then watch your money multiply. Up to 2,000 times your cash this football season on PrizePicks, so download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It is good to be right. Bijan Robinson and Chris Lindstrom got selected to the Pro Bowl. So they will most likely accept their nominees and head out there to celebrate in the Pro Bowl festivities, which notably is not nearly as great of a feat as it once was. But it is still nice to know that you have that selection on your resume as your career ends. Let's start with I don't want to say less obvious one because Chris Lindstrom's been great, but the less notable one because Bijan's one of the most talented players I think the league has seen in the last 8 years. This is unbelievable. I'm really happy for Chris because he's had a very, very good season. And one of the things that I want to bring up is that the Falcons' offensive line has progressively gotten worse throughout the year. It started off great. It got really, really good up until like week 6 or week 7. And then it just started to slowly decline. And now it's kind of mid, in my opinion. But Chris has been the pinnacle of consistency. 1,002 snaps this year. 5 penalties. A run blocking grade of 90, which is among the highest in the NFL. And a pass blocking grade, not nearly as good, but he's a guard. So I'd rather him be better in the run blocking game than the pass blocking game, especially because, you're blocking for Bijan Robinson. Like I told you, though, the Falcons' offensive line, I don't think it's been awful this year. I don't think it's been great. Pardon me. But I do think that there is an opportunity when you're playing good football for the offensive line to be more of a momentum unit. So when the offensive line is firing on all cylinders, it's usually because the team has a good game plan. They're sticking to it. The play calling is really, really good. The offensive line can ebb and flow throughout the year. And remember, the better defensive lines you go up against, the more you're going to struggle with good offensive line play. So I don't want to say that the offensive line for the Falcons has been the worst part of their team this year. It certainly has not been. I mean, the wide receiver position has been awful. The run-stopping defense has been awful. But the Falcons' offensive line has been, like I said, slowly declining, but not the biggest area of concern. I do think there is room to get a couple more depth pieces. And obviously the injuries to Caleb McGarry and Storm Norton, that hurts as well. So with health, with a couple of bits of depth, I think the Falcons' offensive line is totally okay. Now let's move on to Bijan. Oh, my glorious, sweet Prince King. Where do I begin? If I could write a letter to Bijan Robinson, it would start with, please don't leave. He's so good at football. I think when you were watching not only the multitude of games that you've seen this year, or every game that you've seen this year like I have, but that Cardinals game in specifically last week, just watching him with his jump cuts, his field vision, his receiving ability, the guy's got the entire package. He is what you want as a 2025 running back. He's the best in the NFL, in my opinion. He's better than Saquon this year. I personally believe he's a better runner of the football than Christian McCaffrey. Maybe he's not as good of a receiving back as C-Mac, but it's about as close as you can get, and the numbers back it up. Bijan, over 2,000 yards from scrimmage. He did it. And he's got 9 total touchdowns. And I feel like you're going to see 10 or 11 touchdowns this year. I really would give this guy any kind of amount of money that I could to keep him to stay. You do not want to lose Bijan Robinson. Now, I made a video about a month ago that talked about could the Falcons explore a trade for Bijan Robinson. If it got as bad as it could possibly get, where the Falcons are scraping the bottom of the barrel of the NFL, I think it's a possibility, but I don't want to do it. I never want to trade Bijan Robinson. I would never want to trade this guy in his prime because he is among the very best that the NFL has seen in terms of scrimmage yards. Just take a look here. Before turning 24 years old in NFL history, the number one player is Christian McCaffrey at 5,443 scrimmage yards. The next is a little guy, maybe you've heard of him, I don't know, Barry Sanders, one of the greatest running back talents the game has ever seen. And then right under him, 15 yards back, is Bijan Robinson. What else needs to be said about Bijan? You know it. I know it. He's the best player on this team. I want him as an Atlanta Falcon for a long time. There were some other snubs that I thought you could have made the argument that they should have gotten into the Pro Bowl. Kyle Pitts, based off of the last 4 games, but let's be honest, the Pro Bowl is not selected based off of the last 4 games or 4 games in general. Drake London should have gotten in, but the problem is he's missed a lot of time with injury. With injury. Kaden Ellis definitely should have gotten in my opinion. And Xavier Watts, yes, but I understand that giving it to a rookie is a little bit tricky depending on, because it's fan-led. So I think given another couple of years, maybe even one more year, Xavier Watts is absolutely in that conversation. But if there was a player that you thought should have made the Pro Bowl for the Atlanta Falcons, let me know. I'm going to see a lot of people saying Brandon Dorless down in the comment section. I get that. I also think he could very easily have gotten it. JPJ absolutely should have gotten a nod there as well. But again, remember, the rookies, it's a little bit of a different conversation because they're in their own category for offensive and defensive rookie of the year. So I kind of understand where the Pro Bowl just kind of goes off to the wayside for the rooks. But either way, let me know in the comment section down below. That's going to do it for us in today's episode. A reminder to hit that subscribe button, like today's video, and as always, rise up and be cool.